Should Israel fear being banned from international football like Russia? Yes, Israel should be nervous, not because the pliable bureaucrats who run the international game have suddenly grown a conscience and decided to hold Israel accountable for its ongoing war crimes. The reason for alarm is that those bureaucrats may no longer be able to hold the line against the pressure from fans, from players and coaches who are disgusted by the idea that normal sport can continue with a regime engaged in genocide. I'm Tony Karon. I'm the editorial lead at AJ+. I have been writing and teaching about the intersections of football and politics for a couple of decades now. Banning a country's teams and clubs from the World Cup is not unprecedented. FIFA, the World Football Governing Body, had banned apartheid South Africa because of that policy from 1964 until the early 90s. When Russia invades Ukraine, it takes FIFA literally 4 days to suspend Russia from all international competition. Its national team can't play in the World Cup or the Euros. Its club teams can't play in any of the UEFA competitions. UEFA, being the European affiliate of FIFA, said this is taken in line with its commitment to common European values such as peace and respect for human rights. From my experience in South Africa, what I saw about the sports boycott and its effect on the apartheid regime, and particularly on that regime's support base, is that a settler colonial regime really needs for its people to feel like they're part of the West. That the reason, that whatever it is that they're doing is justified by they being part of the West. And you see now even Israeli leaders constantly refer to things that the West has done. The Native American genocide, the bombing of Hiroshima, saying, well, you guys did this. This is a Western thing that we're doing. In other words, if Israel's population that watches football, that cares about football, is suddenly hit with a ban, that's a huge crisis. That's like saying, well, wait a minute, you mean they don't approve of what we're doing? Like that registers. I've seen that in apartheid South Africa. It registers with the support base of an apartheid regime. So I think it has an outsized influence, really, in that population. And that's part of why this matters so much, because it will have a psychological effect on the Israelis.
We don't want no Zionists here!
And so, it's fair enough to wonder why more than 680 days into the genocide in Gaza, FIFA has still not acted. It's been raised last year, and twice FIFA basically convened to discuss the issue and kicked it down the road. And they said, well, we need more research, we need more information, we need some more legal advice. All of those things that it took 4 days to complete in the case of Russia have taken more than a year and counting for Israel, and nothing has happened so far. Now, when pressed about the issue recently, Alexander Sefrin was asked in a Slovenian television interview, so why is Russia banned but not Israel? And his response really scared the Israelis because he said, that's a legitimate question. Of course, then he fudged in the way that FIFA bureaucrats do. Everything is always complicated when you're wanting to defer or evade the question of accountability for Israel and its crimes. Why is Israel suddenly nervous then? And that's because basically the bureaucrats they've relied on to suppress accountability for Israeli crimes are under growing pressure from current and former players, from coaches, and from fans to stop normalizing genocide. So you just look in the last year alone, things like Gary Lineker, one of the most popular figures in the game in England, former England striker, the host of Match of the Day, the flagship television program, is basically pushed out of the BBC because he retweets a call for Israel to be banned from international soccer because of its human rights violations. You see that France and Manchester United legend Eric Cantona saying, how can we let these people get away with this? How can they still be allowed to continue the genocide? Like a call to action.
Si Gaza ne s'en sortait pas cette fois-là, cela voudrait dire que la victoire irait aux plus violents et aux plus barbares.
You see Manchester City current manager Pep Guardiola makes a speech at a university saying, we have to actually speak out about what's happening to children in Gaza.
It's about choice, about showing up, about refusing to be silent or still when it matters most.
And then when Israeli forces killed Suleiman Al-Ubaid, a Palestinian footballer known as the Palestinian Pele, who was queuing for food in Gaza, which is being starved by the Israelis, and was killed in an Israeli strike. And this moment, suddenly, UEFA issues a statement of condolence. The first time, more than 325 Palestinian footballers, referees, and coaches have been killed during the genocide. This is the first time FIFA expresses condolences over one of those victims. But Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool striker, is not having this. He's like, yes, your statement is a little vague. Could you tell us who killed him and why? So there's this sense on FIFA that, don't think you're going to get away with these sort of half measures. Tens of thousands of fans across all of Europe's stadiums are now beginning to express solidarity with Palestine in ways that expressly defy UEFA bans on such expression in stadiums. And then most recently, the Italian Coaches Association has demanded that Israel be banned from the World Cup. I think you have to understand that football is the single largest civil society in the globe. More people watch the World Cup than do any other thing together. If you think, there's 1.5 billion people watching a World Cup final, sharing a moment live in real time. This is the premier experience of a global community sharing moments in real time. And I think really the intensity of the genocide, the fact that it's going to mass starvation that everyone can see, raises the likelihood of more disruptive forms of protest. That, when Israel is playing Italy, when Israel is playing in Europe, the likelihood of protests and disruption is growing heavier and heavier. And that's an issue for FIFA because you can't play games behind closed doors. COVID showed us that the spectacle is completely lost in a game behind closed doors. And of course, the spectacle is what makes FIFA and UEFA their money. It's about the fact that you can sell the rights to the World Cup, to the Champions League, to all these tournaments for billions and billions of dollars because of the television spectacle. So the fans, players, and coaches are an integral part of the chemistry of the game that makes it such an attractive phenomenon, such a saleable phenomenon. And their discontent at some point starts to force changes upwards, that there's real pressure from the grassroots. So the fact things are changing now is testimony to the activism, over the past few years of fan groups that are Palestine solidarity fan groups that are pressing their clubs, that are unfurling banners that are banned, etc., etc. They're creating a momentum. And Israel has very good reason to fear the momentum that is building behind the call to stop normalizing genocide in football by kicking Israel out of the international game.